Hi folks, I hope you're well. It's 9:34 p.m. on the 5th of the 4th, 2020. And this subject is going to be this COVID-19 issue, the coronavirus, and the fact that, by all accounts, it is a case where it's been around before as a SARS virus. And so, that's the case of what it was before, then it's basically identical to that virus that was around in 2002, 2003, where the last case of SARS was in 2004. And SARS was not that easy to catch. 1 second, let's try and find it again. Yeah, let's find that. Let's have a look. There you go. Severe acute respiratory syndrome. That's what SARS is. Yeah, apparently they had something. I'm not sure I'll find it here, but they had something which showed the deaths from SARS compared to the deaths from coronavirus, even the catching rate. The difference is immense. I mean, what it looks like, I'm not saying this is what it is, but what it looks like. First of all, just go back a tiny bit. It was believed recently in the news, saying in 2020, that this coronavirus came from a wet market where they were selling bats and other creatures. It's now believed that it's more likely that it came from labs, which were near that wet market, just a few miles away. And it originally came from those labs. The thing of it is that labs all over the world have every single virus that has ever been found. They have. And they play with those viruses all the time, making them worse. Sometimes trying to find cures for them. Sometimes they're just trying to find out if they can use them as weapons. Now, the SARS virus, if I can find out the death rate, I saw it the other day. I actually added it to another one, to the video I did just the other day. I added it to that. And if I can find it, that would be quite useful. 1 second. If I go into that a second, and I go into there, go into the description, let's go into this. Well, that's weird. If that's what I did the other day, it's not allowing me to copy it. Oh, silly thing. It's not allowing me to copy this at all, or do anything to it, which is quite annoying. Just put a circle there. Come on, I want to copy the blaster thing. 1 second, let's turn the sound down, which is could be a problem for this actually. So bear with me a second, please. I've got to try and go into this video so I can then have a look at this site here. Let's go there. Let's go there. Here you go. So SARS. You compare it to the coronavirus. There's similarities, but there's also a massive flipping difference between them. Quite a scary difference, really. See, with the SARS, the worst cases were in China, with 5,327 cases, only 349 deaths. So, percentage of deaths wasn't that big. It didn't spread anywhere nearly because SARS was around from the 1st of November 2000 to the 31st of July 2003. So for quite a while, and for there just to be, I mean, Hong Kong had 1,755 cases, 299 deaths. In other countries, United States, 27 cases. 27 cases, that's all. No deaths. UK, 4 cases, no deaths. And now we have the coronavirus. So the coronavirus is basically identical, but with the coronavirus, we have USA, 333,000 cases, 9,000 deaths so far. Now, that's so far. 9,000 deaths so far. That's still with over 300,000 cases still going. Active cases, 306,000. So this is far worse, but it's pretty much identical. And when you look at that, because obviously SARS was about doing the same thing. It did the same thing. Severe acute respiratory syndrome. So it's attacking the same area, attacking it in the same way. Yeah, apparently it had come through horseshoe bats in the Yunnan province. So again, same area. It came through there. And if you look at it, the picture they've got of it, it's exactly the same. And the COVID-19, the coronavirus disease is, pretty much identical. And they said this new strain causes, in 2012, a related virus strain, SARS-CoV-2, was discovered. The new strain causes COVID-19. So basically, this is a new SARS, but a much more powerful version. Now, I seem to have gone around in a bit of a weird arc here. It's something I've been thinking about all day, and yet when I try and speak about it, it goes a bit cliffy. Well, that's because it took me a while to find out this thing again. But yeah, it is quite fascinating that they are pretty much identical. This one we're having now, the COVID-19, probably came from a lab where they were playing around with the SARS. Now, did it come out accidentally or on purpose? Sorry about the coffee. It's just a little. It's not COVID, so don't worry about that. Just lack of drink. So I probably need a sip of drink, which will probably help. Well, part of the reason for me coughing and I sneeze quite a lot is because I live in a house with 5 dogs, and you get dog hair getting in your throat on most of the times. It happens all the time. Yeah, my bed is in the same room as a dog, so therefore my bed and my pillow is covered in hair. As I lay in sleep, I got up this morning and I had hairs in my throat. It's a common thing, but for me, definitely where I am right now. But anyway, sorry, I just got a bit. Someone liked a comment that I'd made to a video probably a few months ago. Come through, so I was just reading that at the same time. But yeah, talking about that. Anyway, yeah, this situation. We've had lots of films made over the years, things about outbreaks and stuff like that, where they've happened. Most of these films end up with what they're called, people that eat people. Them anyway. Yeah, the rising dead. happens through a virus, and then they eat the rest of the population, and there's a battle to try and cure that. And I've been expecting for a number of years, actually, for someone working in the lab to release a virus. I was expecting it to be worse than this. However, this could, in theory, could wipe out a load of people. The only problem with that theory, or that maybe it was deliberate, is that if China are being honest about their numbers, then the total deaths in China are 3,329. They're only having a few new deaths per day. New cases yesterday, only 30. New deaths, only 3. So at the moment, they're probably doing the best out of most of the bigger, certainly most of the bigger countries. They're doing by far the best at the moment of cutting those numbers down. But as it came out of China, quite possibly, and as China were the country trying to cut down the population of their own country, one of the motivations for anything like this happening would be to cut down the population of the people on the planet, because it's 7.8 billion. That's an awful lot of people to have to feed, to house, and to employ, to keep busy. We don't have world wars anymore. We've not had one for good time, and I don't think we are likely to, based upon the fact that we now have nuclear weapons. That's pretty much a game changer, and why most countries wouldn't think about going to war with all the rest anymore. So war is unlikely to be the answer to cut down the population. I mean, that's probably why the population has exploded over the last sort of 50, 60 years, or 70. So 1940s, that would be 70 odd years, 70 odd years of any wars. I mean, war was common throughout the world from the first time. War was common. From Adam and Eve's children. One of them killed the other. So they were at war with each other. And you could blame God to a certain degree for that, because God basically made them compete against each other. It was the first competition. Who could please him the most? And that's dodgy, that is. If that story is true, that paints God in an incredibly bad picture. And it really does, because you've got this God that is saying to these two boys, young men, bring me your best. And then God favouring one of them over the other because of that. And then really tormenting the other one by saying, well, your brother brought me something better. He's better than you are. And then being incredibly surprised when that child then kills the other one. Not too surprising, really. I mean, if you are a parent, don't treat your parents the way that God treated those two. If that story is true, I mean, I suspect that story is a little bit different to what happened in reality. But you never know. You never know. That's why I say, when I hear songs talking about us bowing down to God for eternity, I get quite nervous. I don't like that at all. And I can say as much as I like that isn't how it's going to be. I don't know. I really don't know, but I hope it's not. Because if it's that, then is that worth it? Really? Because we go through crap. Certainly Christians go through a lot of crap in life. Because we say, well, we're not going to do all the things that everyone else is enjoying. They're going out getting drunk. They're going out sleeping with whoever they want. We're not going to do any of that. Because we want to do right by God. We want to do things His way. And then we get to heaven and it's all spending our whole eternity bowing down to God. No. Sorry. That's not good. I don't think that's worth the sacrifice. But because in the end, you being in a position where you've got to bow down to God for eternity is not, to me, a situation where if anyone was told that that's what heaven was going to be, nobody would really go for that. And the reason why nobody would go for that is because, of course, not only would it be monotonous, but if that's what you're expected to do for eternity, then it's like, well, that's not an eternity that's much better than hell, really. There's not much of a difference there between one and the other. But as I say, I don't think that that's what heaven will be. I really don't. It doesn't make sense. I've kind of got away from the subject matter a little bit. How on earth did I get onto that? It went on to a Christian thing, sort of against God, but it wasn't really against God. It was against the way that that story's been told. So I don't know. It's a weird situation, but no, with this virus, as I say, China are the ones where it's come from. China are the ones who were trying to reduce their population by saying one child per family. That didn't work, so it'd be understandable, not right, but understandable if they took a measure and say, right, let's cut out all those people that really are a bind on society. Because put it this way, war means you're going to lose a lot of your youngest and your fittest and your best, really. Yeah, the sort of people that would be building your economy in the future are the ones that have to fight for your country. So they're the young and the fit ones, the ones who are most able. The ones who are disabled, the ones who are old, the ones who are really of no use to society, are the ones that stay at home because they can't really fight in a war. Unless your country gets invaded, in which case everyone has to fight. But generally speaking, when you're sending people off to the war, the old and the disabled don't go. But the old and the disabled are the ones you really, if you're going to choose to get rid of a portion of society, it would be them. And the reason why it would be them is because they're the ones society is having to pay for. They're the ones that really aren't providing anything really to society now. Not the way society is designed. When you get to a certain age and you retire, that's it. You're on your pension or your whatever version of the country you live in, where the state basically has to take care of you, or your family do. And as people are living longer, geez, that's one heck of a bind. I mean, if it's your family that's got to take care of you, and you're in a country like China, where one son or one daughter has to support their mother and their father, that go right into their 90s or maybe just a bit above that. And from the time they were 65, 70, they were retired. So really, you've got 25 years when you're having to put a lot of your well-earned money into supporting and feeding and housing your parents, when you should be focusing that money on supporting and housing yourself and your family. So it is easy to believe that maybe this virus was released on purpose, because who are the people this virus targets the most, and it's generally speaking going to hurt the most? It's not going to be the young and fit. Some of those people will get it. Some of those people will get the serious or critical version, but not most. Most of the people that are going to get it serious and critical are going to be the elderly or disabled. And as I say, you look at the rates that this virus, which is really the same as the SARS, that had a tiny rate of even spreading. I'll have to study it a lot more, but it says symptoms are like flu symptoms and may include fever, muscle pain, lethargy, cough, sore throat, and other non-specific symptoms. The only symptom common to all patients appeared to be a fever above 38 centigrade. SARS may eventually lead to a shortness of breath, right? Exactly what they're saying about this coronavirus is exactly the same. Flu-like symptoms: fever, muscle pain, lethargy, cough, sore throat, and other non-specific symptoms that may lead to shortness of breath. Now, shortness of breath is the thing that people are often put in hospital for treatment. Well, shortness of breath and pneumonia, either direct viral pneumonia or secondary bacterial pneumonia. The average incubation period for SARS is 4 to 6 days, although rarely it could be as short as 1 day or as long as 14 days. Well, again, this new virus is not as short as 1 day, generally speaking, and they reckon it's 7 to 14 days. So this is SARS, but with a lot more muscle. So yeah, I say if you look at coronavirus and what they say the symptoms of that are, it's so similar. Incubation period. Yeah, let's look at this one. For 2 to 14 days is what they say, but what's normal? I don't know. In addition, a case with an incubation period of 19 days was observed in JAMA study of 5 cases published on February the 21st. So it can go as high as 19 days. But yeah, 2 to 14 days is what they reckon. So longer. For SARS was 4 to 6 days. And then really it could be as short as 1 and as long as 14. So yeah, it's got a lot more to it, this one. And so it looks as if they've been playing with it. I mean, they certainly do. We know they play with viruses all the time. And as I say, I suspect, can't prove it, but I suspect that China are lying about the numbers. Although, again, when you think about China, you'd have to say that, you know, for all the countries out there, every country, if you tell your people to stay home, which are the countries where the people are most likely to stay home when told? China and Russia. Because in China and Russia, if you disobey the state, you could be arrested. And if you go to prison for disobeying the state in such a way, you could be tortured or whatever. So, yeah, in those countries, people are more likely to do as they're flipping told. So, yes, the order was put through from the government to tell people to stay at home, they would do. So, why would, if China have an overpopulation issue, which they do, why would Chinese scientists produce a stronger version of SARS to release upon the people, and for only to take 3,329 people, compared to in Italy taking 15,000 people, in Spain 12,000 people, in America 9,500 so far. Even in the UK, have had nearly 5,000 cases, again more than China. Population of the UK is well lower than China. Even if it's the case, the UK has only had 47,000 cases compared to China having 81,000 cases, and yet they've had a higher death rate, which again, just, you know, come on. How? I think China are lying. I think they've lied to the people about the death rate and the amount of cases. I mean, China is a country that's lied to the world, you know, so many times. So, you know, is it possible they've done so again? I don't know. That's more than likely that they're doing so. Russia lying to the world, yep, that's quite possible. They would do so as well. But I say these are both the nations that are far more likely for their people to stay indoors when told to. So Maybe they're telling the truth. We don't know. We can discuss these things till the cows come home, sort of thing. But the only person who really knows is God. God knows whether this was intentional, whether it's accidental, whether it came from a lab, or whether it didn't. God knows everything about this sort of stuff. We don't. We only know what we're told, and the problem is, if the governments of the world had decided to do something like cutting down the population to, say, release something like this, we wouldn't know about it. Nobody would be reporting this. Certainly a case where the networks wouldn't be reporting it, because we know that the networks are basically controlled by the governments. And that's most. BBC definitely is. We know that because when there was the independence vote in Scotland, the BBC were incredibly on the side of Remain, to the point where they were nasty towards Scotland. And when it was a case of Leave or Remain, again, they were very much pro-Europe, which was the side of the government, side of the politicians, and the BBC was heavy on the side of Remain, massively heavy. All their reporting was on the side of that. All their programming was on the side of that. Yeah, the comedians were ridiculing people who voted to leave. So definitely controlled by the government. They're all just government propaganda machines. These news networks now. They don't investigate anymore or do anything like that. That was all lost years ago. A lot of their powers were taken away from them. I suppose things like 9/11 was what actually knackered the news networks, because 9/11 was definitely dodgy. There was something going on there that wasn't quite right. And yet, with that being the case, anyone who questioned the government narrative was ridiculed as being, or really harassed as being part of the terrorist network if they questioned it. And that was a massive way of shutting down the media. So, anyway, that was just discussing this issue because that was the point that was raised to me the other day about SARS. And it is. The similarities are immensely similar. Look it up. Look up the SARS situation and the coronavirus situation. It is amazing when you do a bit of homework into both of them. You can see, you do a bit of research. Sorry, not homework, we're not at school. A bit of research, same thing. A bit of work, should we say. It's the same thing, yeah. But, yep, there are definitely situations there that are similar between them. The way they both behave, the way they both do things. But yeah. It's like when they had, you remember years ago, we had swine flu and bird flu. Now, one of them, forgive me if I get it wrong, one of them was highly contagious, but didn't really do anything. The symptoms weren't really anything bad. Yet the other one was really bad, but wasn't contagious. I knew when that was the case that someone was going to do something. They were going to put the two together. Instead of doing that, it looks like what they've done is they've just strengthened SARS. Super boosted SARS to a point where, the SARS virus, let me just check that again. The SARS, come on. Where's that bit where it talks about it properly? Come on. Not this then. What is this? Yeah, okay, here you go. Cases in total of SARS. Actually, I don't know. SARS was a relatively rare disease. At the end of the pandemic, in June 2003, the incidence was 8,422 cases, with a case fatality rate of 11%. That's worldwide. 8,422 cases already in this one, and we're nowhere near the end of it. We've had 1,266,598 cases, 69,000 deaths, which says a death rate of 21%. So yeah, what we've got is a boost up version of SARS, because everything about it is SARS, apart from it's so much stronger. Yeah, people have been saying, is it the flu? No, it's SARS. It's basically SARS. And that is quite scary because of the fact that SARS was something that was relatively minor, as flus, as viruses are. It didn't really impact that many people. It was classed there as a relatively rare disease. 8,422 cases, and yet now we've got this horrible thing, which is SARS.2. I mean, they've called it. If I can find that bit now. It's at the top somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, in 2019, a related virus strain, SARS- or hyphen CoV-2, was discovered. This new strain causes COVID-19, which has caused a pandemic worldwide. So, yeah, is it accidental? Is it on purpose? Is it SARS just boosted up in the lab? Yeah, I think it certainly is SARS boosted up in the lab. Whether it was intentionally or accidentally released, I don't know. I'm none the wiser in that one at all. It's an interesting point, and it's something that I think in the next few months people will be talking about. I mean, if they're not, then you've got to ask some questions about why the media not even asking these questions. As again, any decent media, certainly, if this had happened in the 60s and 70s, the newspapers and the television networks would be asking the questions. They wouldn't be simply assuming that there's no way, shape, or form this could have been released on purpose. They'd be asking the questions. They'd be saying anything is possible. We should at least ask the questions. The problem is now they won't ask the questions. And you're going to say that's bad. That's not very good at all. Questions should be asked. So anyway, that'll do for this one. I'm not saying be petrified or anything like that, because again, what they said, that 70% of people will get this coronavirus. That's what they said in the beginning. That's what they thought was the case. I don't think that's changed. And we know that most of the people that get it will recover. Yeah. We don't rightly know the long-term effects. That's why, again, it's useful to probably look at SARS to see what the effects of SARS was on the people that had it. It says here, some of the post-SARS patients have been documented as suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and major depressive disorders. Okay. That wasn't what I was looking for, but that's what they said. I was looking to see if there was any indication at all of it says, yeah, what I was looking for. I can't say I found it because and when you're trying to talk at the same time as reading it, it's quite tricky to know what to read, especially these things on Wiki. But if you want to look at it, I'll include the page on the video of this one. it'd be interesting to see. What I was trying to find out is there any long-term damage in the lungs? Because if this is a respiratory condition that affects the lungs and makes it difficult to breathe because your lungs get full up with this virus, does that have any long-term effect on the lungs? I don't know. That's something that if there was something on SARS, I'm sure that it would be mentioned, but I'm not totally sure. Yeah. Anyway, that'll do for now. This one will be called Christianity SARS-2 Coronavirus ? Although I'm not sure if question marks are allowed on videos, but let's see. Right, you take care. God bless, and I will speak to you soon. Bye bye.